Good morning, and welcome to another First Five. Has there ever been a time in your life when you've been so overwhelmed with the presence of God that you never wanted to leave? First of all, I hope your answer is yes. And if your answer is no, I pray that that happens for you soon. For me, that often happens in places where worship through song is happening so genuinely that I can't help but feel the presence of God. Each and every person feels it in a different place, but I hope that you felt this feeling. There's a time in life where you think, I just don't want this situation to end. It would be good if I would stay here forever, because this is the feeling I never want to lose. In Matthew chapter 17, we actually find Peter saying almost those exact same words. But it's important to watch this story because we have to react to those moments specifically. Matthew 17, starting in verse 1, says, After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. Then he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, a bright cloud enveloped them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified, but Jesus came and touched them. Get up, he said, don't be afraid. When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. Then the disciples asked him, Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first? Jesus replied, To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands. Then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist. They go up on the mountain, and they experience something so wonderful that Peter literally says, we should set up camp here. We should make shelters for you so that we never have to leave. It's good for us to be here. Now, before I go on, know that fact. It is good for you to be so deeply in the presence of God that you're overwhelmed by the emotion, that you're overwhelmed by his presence. That is good. Peter was not wrong. But the mistake was this. We're not meant to shelter in that place. We have to come off of the mountain. Because if we don't come off the mountain, then we're the only ones who can be affected by that presence. Peter, James, and John were blessed with such a miraculous sighting that I believe that is part of what drove them to spread the word of God all over. Which is part of the reason Jesus says, Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. Which pretty much means someday you're going to tell this story. And it's going to shape tons of people. But you can't do that unless you come down from the mountain. So count your blessings. Be excited when you are overwhelmed with the presence of God and when you feel it so deeply to your core that you don't want to leave. But be reminded, you got to come down off the mountain. And I'm not saying you have to leave the presence of Jesus. Jesus went with them. But there's work for us to do as Christians. Peter becomes the rock of the church. He becomes the beginning of the Christian faith. But he couldn't have done that if he'd have made shelter on the mountain and never left. So be joyful in the moments of true worship and presence with God. But remember, we have stuff to do. Spread the story and spread the love of Jesus. Come down off the mountain. Jesus will come with you, and you will spread the good news that you experienced. Have a great day.